The year is 2023 and Megan Rapinoe has just announced her retirement from the NWSL, which is 2 years, I believe, after her partner Sue Bird has announced her retirement from the WNBA. And in both of their retirements, they have decided to become TV producers and have decided to create a book-to-screen adaptation of Cleat Cute, which is the funniest name in the world. I'm sorry. If you don't know who I am, hi, I'm Kat and I'm a lesbian. I wouldn't say that I regularly watch women's sports, but I'm definitely quite versed in the players and the media coverage that a lot of women's athletes get. There are two people in my head actively that would laugh in my face if I said that, but I think I know more than the average person, okay? All I really know is like the basic like back of the book synopsis of it, along with the fact that it's a very spicy book to my knowledge. Sometimes TikTok lies about these things. I don't really know. Nothing's sexier than playing hard. That can't be the tagline. I know it is, but it just can't be in my head. The AC just came on, so if you're wondering what that like buzzing is, it's my AC. But I wanted this reading vlog slash book review to be spoiler free. I don't know if that's going to be possible as I near the very end of the book, but I'll definitely let you know when I'm gonna give spoilers. And I am going to read it and we're gonna start right now. I'm gonna begin the book. I'm just sitting on my red reading chair. I'm so nervous. I don't think words will properly explain how nervous I am for this book. I know a little bit about professional soccer and like the terminology and that type of thing, but not a lot. So I hope this book does not depend on your knowledge of women's soccer to get it. I hope they explain it. I'll figure it out. Okay, I'm nervous. Okay, goodbye. We're starting out incredibly strong. Okay, so I'm on page 3. I'm not going to do updates every 4 pages, I promise. This like first scene is basically Phoebe getting drafted into the U.S. women's national team. I got it. See? I got it. So instead of saying the NWSL, which is the National Women's Soccer League, if you didn't know, they've changed it to the American Women's Soccer Association. So that's new. I don't know if that's also a thing or not. Okay, so they won't say the NWSL, but they will say the NCAA. Okay, so it's a little bit later and I'm reading and Phoebe is I'm getting the most secondhand embarrassment. She is just a chatterbox and embarrassing some of the things that she says and does. It's crazy. There's just like one part where the love interest, her name's Grace, and Phoebe in like an interview after being like drafted for the NWSL, she's like talking about how she loves Grace Henderson, and the scene is Grace watching that like clip of the interview, and I'm like just dying inside, like, oh my god. Yeah, other than the secondhand embarrassment, I think it's okay. I hope it gets better and less embarrassing. Okay, I'm a little bit in, and I think this is the part where I'm gonna stop talking about what's going on in the book, and I'm just gonna kind of give vague things so I don't spoil the book for anyone. I read through the first kind of semi-spicy scene, but we got through it. It wasn't that bad, but if that's how we're starting, then I can tell where the rest of the book is kind of going. I'm also confused because it says Phoebe's talking about herself and she's saying, well, I'm not guaranteed a spot on the team, but they drafted her first round. And maybe I'm dumb, but if someone gets drafted, from my understanding of basketball, if you get drafted to a team, aren't you just like on the team? No, you're not. And I'm not sure where I thought that was coming from. I think maybe just because Caitlin Clark got drafted to the Fever and she plays, but I was wrong. I was a little bit worried about the secondhand embarrassment I was getting for Phoebe. So it's all in third person, but it flips between like Grace being like the main character and Phoebe being the main character. Phoebe sees herself as like more annoying and Grace would see that as more endearing. So I'm not sure if that was intentional, but I definitely saw that within like kind of the first couple of chapters. So we'll see if that holds up. Something I've noticed is that in the book, we'll be talking about something so incredibly normal, like sports or like working out or whatever, and then it'll go from like vaguely descriptive of like the things around him, like it goes from like incredibly normal to like just graphic and like it's vaguely spicy. It does kind of feel like it goes from like 0 to 50 really quickly, but it's chill. I'm chill. On a more plot-based note, kind of at the point where our two main characters, Grace and Phoebe, are kind of becoming friends, and we're kind of getting past the initial like first impressions. It's pretty good. It doesn't feel slow at all. It felt a little bit slow during the very beginning part where Phoebe is I don't know what is considered a spoiler, what's not. Oh god. When Phoebe's training with the US women's national team, that I felt like went on a little bit long. That could just be because I read it in two separate chunks of time. Okay, so I called it. But there's a subplot with Grace. I didn't like Phoebe's involvement in the subplot, and I knew that they were going to use it as a plot device, like Phoebe's interaction with it. I knew they were going to make it a subplot of like a romantic subplot, which I wish they just kept it a regular subplot, but finally got to the part where the two plots were gonna collide, and I could sense this. Everything was just going too well for them. I think I said this before, I'm not a huge fan of miscommunication in tropes. I think just talk to one another, it's not that difficult, but I think that it's really good because like Grace and Phoebe, I think in the books, have had their moments, and then they both kind of listened to the other one and like actually talked it through, which you gotta appreciate. Okay, everybody, they're happy and in love. They haven't said that they're in love. That's not a spoiler. And if anyone comes for me saying that that's a spoiler, it's a romance novel. People have gotten mad at me before for saying like, oh, they like end up together, and then people are like, that's a spoiler. That's the point of the book. Anywho, they're happy, but we still got that much left of the book. It feels like they tied up all the loose ends of this, all the subplots for the most part up. Like, found out what happened with her and Kelsey. We found out what happened. We found out that Phoebe's the reason for Grace's little like side subplot, whatever. Now the only thing I can think of is like Phoebe going to the World Cup, getting made on the roster, but like that's not enough to justify like that much of a book. So I'm really not sure what's gonna happen, but excited. Okay, I'm on chapter 29 and they're like happy, right? But we've got this much left. I think I said this last time, so I wouldn't be surprised if we were in for a third act breakup. Right now, they have differing opinions on what they are for each other. So Phoebe thinks they're together and Grace doesn't. And I've been seeing a lot of the time that like this book has like a lot of the miscommunication trope. I haven't really seen it, or because it's less communication and more like misunderstanding, but then they do actually talk it over. This might be the miscommunication that they were talking about, but we'll have to see. I feel like I've said this before, but Phoebe and Grace play for the New Orleans Crew, KREW. And I guess I never thought about how their like version of the NWSL has like their own names, because they obviously can't use like the real names, which is the Phoenix Chicks, CHIX. So Arizona represents. So that's exciting, except it has a character that we aren't supposed to like on it. So very conflicting moment. I don't know, this is kind of coming out of left field. I'm not sure where this is coming from. I might have to reread this chapter if I don't figure it out soon. Basically, Phoebe lost her temper, and so there's this conversation that Grace and Phoebe are having. Phoebe's family keeps kind of poking fun at Phoebe's temper and stuff, and then Grace kind of pulls her aside and kind of talks about her what I believe is diagnosed ADHD. I believe it was mentioned in the beginning of the book that has ADHD and that she's medicated. But then Grace kind of starts talking about medication and like disorder, and it really offends Phoebe. And she just talks about really sensitive topics, which is crazy considering her own subplot, and like how little she wanted to talk about that. So the fact that she even feels comfortable talking about it with Phoebe is crazy. And for someone whose entire subplot is about like not wanting to talk about medical stuff, and I'm so with Phoebe on this. However, this does mean that I have predicted the third act breakup really, really stunningly. This whole chapter is from Grace's point of view, but she literally says, Phoebe has been spending a lot of time at her house lately, and the only pills Grace has ever seen her take are fish oil capsules she steals from Grace's bathroom cabinet. Is it possible she's unmedicated? But her ADHD seems out of control. Then again, maybe that's why. Maybe she doesn't know she has it. Maybe if you don't know if someone is A, medicated, or B, has a disorder, you don't bring it up to them at all, ever. Are you the doctor? No. You didn't even want to listen to the doctor this entire book. I have sided with Grace on pretty much every disagreement. I feel like I relate to Grace a lot more in this book, but that was out of line. I'm so mad about it. Guys, they're talking sports again. I don't really know what's happening. Talking about being too far forward, captains and stuff, and I'm only a little bit lost. I understand a lot of like NWSL. I don't even want to say that I like know the league, but I know like the teams and I know the processes a little bit, but I have no idea about the actual game of soccer. Couldn't tell you. The amount of soccer games I've been to for like a friend of mine, I believe it's only like 4, but like you'd think I know more. This has to count as like gaslighting or something, because now I feel bad for Grace again. Grace this entire book has just been an anxious little baby, and I have related so hard. Now she's talking about that Phoebe is gonna replace her, and like she's not gonna come back to the team, and she saw the girl that like was the stand-in captain was like better than her at being the captain, and I just feel bad for her now. And I don't want to feel bad for her. I want her to apologize to Phoebe, but now she's crying in the book and talking to her dad, so I can't be mad at her right now. Okay, they got me. So, Grace's like whole thing, I'm oriented the wrong way, but you wouldn't know that because I flip it in editing. She's having a bit of an anxiety attack, and she's like on the phone with her dad, but she's like crying, and she says that like, you only talk to me about soccer. It's like you care about soccer more than me. And her dad says like, oh, like, no. It's because that's what Grace loves, is soccer and playing for the team. And then she's like, what? But you, like, have watched the NWSL since I was little. And then Dad is like, I watched it because you wanted to read it. If you weren't on the team, I wouldn't watch it at all. The way that it's really long, like it's an entire like page, so I'm not gonna read it to you, but like, I don't know, something about dads connecting with their children over like something that they want to do and like what they love, like, just makes my heart happy. Okay, I think a while ago I said that they were together. They're not. Just in case, I said they're finally together. They're not, and we have this much left of the book and they're still not together. So I'm getting a little bit nervous, but I do love a slow burn, so give it to me. They're not together. They're not together, but Phoebe, I think, is under the impression that they're together, which is why I was under the impression that they were together. And then Grace was under the impression that they're not, but she likes Phoebe. Obviously, they like each other because friends with benefits and romance novels, only leads to one thing, which is love.
I'm a little bit confused as to what the problem is. So maybe this is the miscommunication where they're like not talking to each other about like dating or anything. I don't know. Anyway, the rest of that chapter, I think the last 2 chapters, was really sweet. It was good. It was really telling about Grace's character, and I just felt it a lot more. And I've loved Grace like from the beginning of the book. She really like resonated with me in a lot of ways. Okay, I have been a yapperson this entire reading session, and I haven't been this yappy since like I first started the book. But so basically, after their whole little disorder fight, and I don't even know what you want to call it, their like makeup scene is so and it's awful. I don't think, like Grace said, like, oh, I want to apologize, and then they don't even, she just says that like her sister has ADHD and that like none of it's an apology for like overstepping, and then Phoebe just wants to kiss her. I forgive Grace because I think that Phoebe's done a lot more in this book because I'm incredibly endeared to Grace, so that's the only reason I'm forgiving her. But that up, this whole apology scene is up because now they're gonna I'm sure, and I can't. Okay, so they did. I want to go on the record and just say that the sex scene that comes right after the apology that I think is bullshit, which they are resuming, which I appreciate. And someone's like, can we continue this conversation from earlier? And I'm like, thank God, because if that was the end of the apology, I would have not been happy with this book. But the sex scene is longer than the apology. It's like a page and a half longer than the apology, and I'm sitting here like, what is going on? Anyway, I just thought that was really funny. But now we're resuming the apology, so I hope that maybe they'll say something nice. If this apology is not good, I'm about to lose it. Grace just continues on. She just keeps blabbing. And she's just like, no, like ADHD. And I understand. It's getting late, so I don't know if I want to stick this out or like read tomorrow morning. Okay, it's the next day and I'm back at reading. I have a bone to pick with Grace yet again because this whole chapter so far that I'm reading, which is like a 3-page chapter, is her yapping about how she doesn't want to admit that she likes Phoebe, and then proceeds to talk about how to get Phoebe diagnosed and how to help. It's literally not your place. You're not dating, and this is no one's business. And she's just going on and on and on about how, oh, she's helping because it is easier to do that than to like admit that she has feelings for her. Kim, there are people that are dying. I'm so mad. This is so stupid. Okay, so she downloads TikTok to learn about ADHD, and then it leads her to autism TikTok. I'm literally updating you every page because every page I read, Grace has more of an audacity. So basically, she is talking to her sister who has ADHD, and her sister says like, oh, like our dad set up the appointment, drove me there, put it on the family calendar, like got me there. And so Grace is trying to do that for Phoebe, and then her sister's like, oh, like, do you want her to know that you like her, because this is kind of a big thing? And so that stops Grace from doing that. I wish that this was like a separate thing. I wish that this had been like another subplot along with, you know, Grace's injury, instead of trying to cram it in this tiny sliver of the book. I don't know though. Okay, so Grace told Phoebe that she made the appointment, and you know what, it's fine. Her reaction is not my reaction, so it makes me a little bit confused. Oh my god, I just read to the next page. Okay, gotta read now. Goodbye. Okay, we kind of took a pause there from like anything related to the book at all with this whole like ADHD debacle thing. So we're finally getting started on like the actual like the romance part of the romance novel. So I'm really excited. We're moving right along. We got a life on the highway, and your way is my way, so trust my navigation.
Okay, folks, I have finally finished Cleat Cute. First of all, this has taken me like 2.5 weeks to read, and I don't know why, because it's not that big of a book. Second of all, I really liked the book. I really liked and enjoyed it. In preparation of this video, I don't know if you can call it preparation if you did it after you started filming this video, but I definitely did my homework on Super and Megan Rapinoe and like their story, like their love story, and just them as like individuals. And I can totally understand why they wanted to turn this book into an adaptation, a book to screen adaptation of some sort. Both of them seem to sort of kind of fit in between the two characters, I feel like. I definitely think Sue Bird is more of like the Grace type and Megan Rapinoe is definitely more of like the Phoebe type. But I really enjoyed it. I really thought it wasn't as spicy as I think Book Talk made it out to be. I don't know if like spicy is on the scale of like more like spicy scenes or like the spice in and of itself is like spicier, with like the spicy scenes, they weren't like elaborate or like crazy out of whack sort of spice. It was very normal. So I don't really know where Book Talk was like, this is the spiciest book. I definitely enjoyed reading the dynamic. You can definitely tell that the author knows character work and relationships in writing. It's very evident. The characters had a very believable sort of progression throughout the book. I'm still upset about the ADHD end part. I really liked Grace's whole kind of arc. I definitely think Grace had more of an arc than Phoebe did. The epilogue was fine. I would have preferred an epilogue that was like way more into the future than this epilogue was, but that's a personal preference on my end. But I really, really, really liked this book. I thought it was really good. I thought that if you didn't know anything about soccer, you didn't have to. Red cards and yellow cards were mentioned in this book a little bit. As someone that knew what a yellow card and a red card was, I definitely was like, yeah, if someone didn't know, they would catch on really quickly. I really enjoyed this book. I really think that this will make it an excellent book to screen adaptation, and I'm very excited to watch it. Maybe I'll bring you along when I watch it. Who knows? I don't. But thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you all later. Let me know what book I should read next that's queer. I definitely want to make a video where it's like lesbian reads straight romance, because I bought a ton of straight books when I didn't know I was gay yet. And so if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and follow me on all my social media platforms and blah, 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 you know what it is, influencer things. Follow me. Okay, goodbye.